Hi, everybody. Ian Bremmer here around your world in 180 seconds. Have your questions, as always, lined up on my phone vertically this time. Who knew? Let's get started. Number one is Zelensky's risking EU support by weakening Ukraine's anti-corruption agencies. I don't think so. I think EU support is considered increasingly existential given what is at risk with the fight against Russia, not only for Ukraine, but more broadly for the Europeans. So, I mean, you're going to see a little bit of complaining about it. The real question is, where does Ukraine go in terms of eventual elections, which they will need to have? And Zelensky, once they do have them, is unlikely to win. That, of course, will be interesting, not an issue Russia has to deal with because they are not a democracy. Number two is Japan's rise of the Japanese First Party, a sign that Trump-style nationalism is going global. It's kind of the Sanseido party, the do-it-yourself party. That is a better description of it, better translation than a Japan First Party. It is true that it is anti-immigration. It's also pro-nuclear. The idea that the Japanese need their own nuclear weapons because they can't rely on the United States. I think it is absolutely growing. I mean, in part, the Liberal Democratic Party has done poorly, and most of the votes for this new party came from them. But, Japan's a very ethnically homogeneous country. It is also one with demographics that are rapidly decreasing. So the social safety net is relatively strong, including lots of money going to rural areas. So it's very different from the U.S. in that regard, and sort of MAGA, America First in that regard, but definitely a willingness to counter the establishment and consider new, younger political figures that seem more in touch with the times. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this party does quite well in future elections. Finally, with President Trump pulling the U.S. out of UNESCO, does this open the door for other powers to fill the vacuum and increase their influence on the UN system? Well, it's not the first time Trump pulled the U.S. out of UNESCO in his first administration. Then Biden put the U.S. back in UNESCO, and now Trump has now withdrawn the Americans again. It's more just a question of how reliable the United States is on the global stage, that, from one administration to the next, the U.S. just dramatically changes its orientation towards allies and towards adversaries and towards institutions and rules and standards, and even organizations that the Americans initially founded. The U.S. may decide it's, suddenly not committed to it anymore. That absolutely creates more geopolitical uncertainty and risk and volatility, and it creates more of a vacuum. I'd say it creates more of an opportunity for other countries, but they have to be willing to actually take it up. And right now, there's more focus on keeping heads down and focusing domestically for so many countries around the world as opposed to global leadership. Long term, there'll be more opportunities for other countries around the world, both allies and adversaries. That's it for me, and I'll talk to you all soon.